Thank you, guys. I'm Andrei. I work for Safe, the company that was previously called Gnosis Safe, probably well known to the whole blockchain community under this name. And today we're going to cover the crossroads between decentralized finance and smart accounts. So, question to the audience. Do any of you use decentralized finance in your real life? DeFi? One person? Really? Like never? Okay, two persons? Okay, nice. Not too bad. Swaps, Uniswap, something like that, right? Yeah, you get it right? All right, we're going to cover that today. Just to remind you, like, what is the problem with DeFi? So decentralized finance is really cool. It's going to automate a lot of complicated financial operations. That's why the transactions, the operations that are happening behind the scenes are really complex. So if you open just something that looks very simple, like a swap of ETH to USDT, looks really simple, but under the hood, there's a bunch of things happening. So that's one thing about decentralized finance. Another one is that decentralized finance is still extremely prone to all sorts of hacks. Sandwich attacks, to be named. Also, protocols are constantly exploited and stuff like that. So there's always a danger of losing funds still. Even though it's 2024, like a lot of security measures have been taken, still this is quite frequently the case. So people tend to lose money. And finally, one kind of issue with decentralized finance that's quite often you will have to submit several transactions to perform some actions. So for instance, like when you have to swap ethers to USDT, you will have to first wrap ethers into wrapped ether, then you have to approve usage of your wrapped ether to the contract, and then at the third transaction you will execute all that. So 3 transactions in a row. These are the problems of DeFi. Now, smart accounts. Have any of you used smart accounts? Okay, also not too bad. What smart accounts, if I can ask?
On-chain account.
I mean, smart contract account, I mean. Yeah. Okay. So this is something that has become pretty hypey in 2023 due to the account abstraction EIP going live. But Safe, for instance, like Gnosis Safe used to be smart account really like many years before that. So what is a smart account, just for those who are not really familiar? So it's a smart contract essentially that has one or more signers, and that you can kind of encode a bunch of different complex logic operations into the smart contract, enable a bunch of cool things. So that's just to name a few of these. So, for instance, like if you lose your passphrase of your MetaMask account or whatever externally owned account, your funds are lost. So, in case of smart accounts, there are ways to set up recovery procedures. And there's a number of them. That's off topic for today, so I won't cover this in detail. But the thing is, like, you can recover your funds in most cases. Enhanced security. Like I said, a smart account can have one or more signers. So potentially, like if you hold like millions of dollars in your smart account, you can assign like multiple signers, you can store multiple keys, you can assign multiple people and can have multiple parties responsible for that, and you can change them. So that works in favor of security. That's why many DAOs and many companies use Safe to store their funds there. Finally, the fees potentially can be paid not just in the ethers or like any native coins, depending on the network you're operating, but also in the funds that are stored on the smart contract, including ERC20s. That's a theory, at least. That's, I mean, not a theory, but it's not yet widely used out there, but it is possible, technically. And finally, very important thing, like I mentioned previously, up to 3 transactions can be executed to perform like a simple DeFi operation. So for smart accounts, these transactions can be bundled. And we will cover this in detail later. So now, In theory, smart accounts are kind of really solving it all. But in practically, like what we have is, if you look at the TVL, almost all of the funds stored in smart accounts are stored in safes. While there's a bunch of other smart accounts, we are holding the most of the money there. And we are safe. We have a lot of legacy. We have a lot of existing user needs. So all the innovation that I showed you previously, it takes time to implement it live, test it, and make sure it works for the general public. Another important thing to mention is that if you take the number of transactions being made from the smart wallets, most of the transactions are going to be multi-signature accounts, meaning that the smart contract has multiple signers, which adds another layer of complexity, which I'm going to show you in the next slides. So let's make a case with Uniswap. Uniswap is the most popular decentralized finance application. Safe multisig is the most popular smart account. So what can possibly go wrong? I won't really go too deep into each step, but I'm going to show you how many steps it takes to make a swap in Safe using Uniswap. So you have to connect a wallet using Wallet Connect in multiple steps, jumping from one tab to another. Then you have to go back to Uniswap and compose a swap. Then you have to confirm a swap in Uniswap. Then you're going to go back as the first signer to the Safe application. You have to review permission to wrap you have to review permission for the wrapped Ether. And then you have to sign. Then you have to switch owner, sign again. Wait until the transaction is executed, get back to Uniswap. Then you have to review the permit to message. We won't cover what is permit to in this case, but just is, all in all, it's just an approval for the contract to use your tokens. And so 15 steps up until here. So you sign the message and then you go back to the Safe UI. So a lot of steps, This is something I've done myself to prepare for this presentation. I was super frustrated. So 18 steps, 21 steps. Okay, perfect. So finally, I got my simple swap submitted to Uniswap, and then I realized that the swap failed. I tried to investigate the thing, so I went to Uniswap UI. I tried to get the hash of the transaction, then I got back to the Safe UI, and all that I could see is that just the plain hash data, which wasn't really helpful, so I couldn't understand what's going on. As you can see on the Uniswap UI, it kept rolling like that. Then I took the transaction hash, went to Polygon scan, nothing was there, so I was super frustrated. But in the end, it happened. When I went to the assets, I realized that I actually got the assets, but the transaction status, for some reason, not sure why, maybe the event listener was off, whatever. So this is just an illustration of how painful it can be to connect two different protocols, a bunch of smart contracts of Uniswap, a bunch of smart contracts in Safe. So there's no way to automatically make it awesome looking and nicely used, unfortunately. So what we decided to do in the Safe team to make the life of the multi-signature accounts easier, we introduced embedded swaps. We have chosen CowSwap as the strategic partner for that, not Uniswap, for a number of reasons. And we have introduced the nicely embedded the CowSwap into our UI for easy access. I will show you later. CowSwap is famous. They basically invented the concept of intent-based swaps. So, that is something that is now used by Uniswap, by 1inch, probably by someone else, but CowSwap were the first ones. So intent-based, really in a nutshell, what does it mean? So you don't actually execute your transaction yourself. You submit an intent that I want to swap X to Y, and then you submit this intent, and then the protocol, the solvers of the protocol do the complex maths, do the complex execution for you, and you are abstracted of that. So you just basically submit an intent, you sign it, and then you get whatever you're supposed to get. And we actually done some transaction decoding to battle this case with just seeing stupid hashed data without any information like what it is about. And last but not least, we bundled the transaction. So you saw probably in the previous part that how many times I had to submit 3 transactions, how many times I went back and forth from SafeUI to Uniswap, from SafeUI to Uniswap, all eliminated with bundling in transactions. So to act now, so then and now, to access swaps, you just have to go to the assets or to the swap dedicated section. You have to compose a swap right in the SafeUI. You have to confirm a swap right in the SafeUI. And then you review your approval, and you see now what is the difference here, that you can see clearly what you're doing. You're swapping this into that. You're seeing what contract you're interacting with. So all the details are here in a human-readable format. Unfortunately, it's not possible. That's the big problem of all the blockchain industry. Since all the protocols are different, it's not possible to write a logic to decode all the transactions in the world in the human-readable format, if we're talking about smart contract transactions with these complex contract interactions and stuff. So if we're talking about send, receive, this simple stuff, yes, it is possible. If we're talking about smart contract transactions, not possible. So you have to do custom logic. You have to invest time into decoding this stuff in the UI. That is the big problem, and basically no solution for this thing so far. So a lot of manual effort of developers is involved. Now, then when you have the overview done, you sign, you switch wallet to the second signer, because we're talking about multi-signature accounts, two signers, and then you execute. Unfortunately, didn't manage to make a screenshot. And then you wait until the transaction is executed. So there are 8 steps instead of 21. And then that's it. You just review your transaction, and again, you see instead of hash data, you see nicely decoded what's going on. Now, this is a little bit outdated because I submitted my presentation last Sunday. But actually, basically, we have even better statistics now. So what we have done in Safe, since we prefer to be very gentle when we introduce some new stuff. So what we have done, we didn't switch off any of the alternatives. So basically, as a Safe user, you can now use a bunch of ways to swap stuff. You can still use the Wallet Connect, the bad option I showed you with Uniswap. You can use embedded Safe applications. You can use whatever, and you can use something that we call native swaps. Even though, so we consciously left this field for competition. So we didn't want to switch off any options, because that's basically the philosophy of Safe. Even though we managed to get like almost a half of the volume for CowSwap that switched to swaps, to native swaps, so which is not bad. What's next? So how can we make it even better? But a very important disclaimer, that's not a roadmap of Safe. It's just my ideas of how things can be even better. So we can introduce more embedded solutions. Like I said, unfortunately, when you work with smart contracts, with DeFi protocols, it has to be manual, like handcrafted integration each time you integrate a new protocol. So basically, the only way to make it nicely usable is to manually integrate and make more embedded solutions, which we're going to do, including not just swaps, but also staking, lending, bridging, probably something else. Gasless order submission. Currently, you still have to pay a tiny amount of gas to publish your signature to the blockchain due to some technical restrictions. Won't cover them in this presentation, too complex. But there's a way to make it completely gasless. And session keys is something that so basically with session keys, you give permission to the app to sign on your behalf, which actually makes it even easier. You don't even have to sign anything. You just press swap and stuff happens, like on centralized exchanges. So that's session keys. Supporting more platforms, for sure. Browser extension is something that can help potentially with working with third-party applications. We don't have a browser extension yet, but that is something that we can probably introduce later. Trading automation is something that you set rules, specific rules, and you let the application do the trading, for instance, on some conditions. If the price goes down to this or not higher than that, perform a trade in this direction between these assets and stuff like that. So this is something that is actually coming shortly in SAFE. We're going to have advanced swaps with this automation stuff there. And finally, the last but not least, cross-chain operations, something that is missing currently, sadly, but something that we're going to work on is we're going to integrate with probably cross-chain swap dexes or see how can we leverage the existing solutions. And there's a whole big topic about cross-chain swaps. They are even more complicated than the just normal DeFi operations, like X10, I would say, more complicated than the normal DeFi, but still, there's no other way other than introduce that and experiment and make it awesome. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't prepare the final slide, but yeah, any questions, guys, about the smart accounts, account abstraction, DeFi? Okay, perfect. So then, I suggest you have a good time today, and that's it.